For almost a century, animation has touched the lives of many all around the world, from Mickey Mouse to Danger Mouse, from Daffy Duck to... I've loved cartoons ever since I was a kid, so that's why today I'm counting down my top 10 favourite cartoons of all time. Quick disclaimer, these are my opinions, not yours, but without further delay, let's get right onto the list. When I think of cartoons I can re-watch over and over, Daria is definitely one of them. Daria is a smart, acerbic and misanthropic girl, or at least that's what it says on her Wikipedia page. I tend to drift towards her gothic friend Jane, as she has more of a personality.
On the other hand, having all of you know that I had low self-esteem makes me feel kind of bad, like a big failure or something.
I think it's the banter that she and Daria have between each other. It just screams great friendship. You can tell they're great friends because of it. While the animation on the show is nothing to write home about, and the voice actors, especially the side characters, can get a bit annoying, I still enjoy watching Daria every once in a while. Although I probably wouldn't recommend this to someone who looks on the bright side of things. If you've seen the show before, you know what I mean. It takes a very cynical outlook on life and high school. But if you can look past that, you have a great show to watch. From the creator of The Simpsons and the upcoming Disenchantment comes Futurama. I love how weird this show can get. The characters are all likeable, even Bender, who is one of the biggest jerks in all of animation. Some of my favourite episodes are the Anthology of Interest. This is where the writers really get creative. They also make a lot of fourth wall breaking jokes, which are pretty funny too. After seeing this show advertised on Disney after it came out, I passed it off as another wacky Sugar Rush kind of show. I only watched the show at first because of Jack McBrayer playing Wanda, the lead character. I'm glad I did. While Wanda Over Yonder is a crazy wacky show, there is a substance to it, and a coherent storyline to each episode. They're not just running around aimlessly for 11 minutes. There's a surprising amount of heart to some of the episodes of the show, and the messages which are very useful, not just to kids, but for adults too. I think Wanda's positive attitude is very infectious, and something we need on TV. He's definitely one of my favourite characters of all time. Even the side characters like Sylvia, Peepers and Lord Hater are great too. The characters contrast each other very well, and the writing is superb. You can tell that the writers had so much fun working on the show. My biggest gripe with the show is that there's only 2 seasons, and the last one was a bit rushed, as it was meant to have 3 seasons, but it only got renewed for 1 more after the first one. Maybe Craig McCracken, the creator, will make a new show soon, but for now, we wait. Does anybody else miss action cartoons? Nowadays everything is trying to be the next best comedy. With all these reboots of action shows losing the action and replacing it with fart jokes. Now don't get me wrong, I love comedy, but there's no action shows. Not counting cartoons about Star Wars and Marvel characters. That is, except for Miraculous Ladybug. The show follows a teenage girl called Marinette, who has to juggle school life and being a superhero when she turns into her alter ego, Miraculous Ladybug. She also has a crush on a boy in her class called Adrian, who also has an alter ego, Cat Noir. They don't know each other's secret identity, which drives the plot of a few episodes. This show follows a Monster of the Week formula, where the main antagonist, Hawkmoth, turns citizens of Paris into villains, granting them superpowers based on their personality or an object they own whenever they're angry. If you like action or romance cartoons, this is definitely a show worth watching. From the minds of Dan Povenmire and Swampy Marsh comes 2007's Phineas and Ferb. As a kid, I loved this show. However, looking back at it now, I can see that the episodes did get a bit repetitive. One of my favourite aspects of the show was seeing what Phineas and Ferb would build each day of their infinite summer. There is also a subplot where their pet platypus, Perry, becomes a secret agent and battles the evil Dr. Doofenshmirtz, voiced by Dan Povenmire. Doof was easily the best character on the show. A thing that Phineas and Ferb do really well at, which other cartoons can't seem to master, is the songs in each of the episodes. They're really catchy. Whenever the show is on, I'll watch it. I can remember so many quotes from the first 3 seasons, although I stopped watching after season 3. I've heard the show didn't really drop in quality over the years, so that's a bonus. Timmy is an average kid that no one understands, or at least that's what his theme song says. After given Fairly Odd Parents to help him cope with his hellish life, he can basically do anything, as long as it goes by the rules. It's a pretty simple premise for a show, but it works so well, and Nickelodeon knew this as it lasted for 10 seasons and went on for 16 years. If it weren't for the later seasons, this show would be a lot higher on the list, as the later seasons dropped in quality quite a lot, adding new characters every season, making the cast way too big. While I like Timmy, Wanda and Cosmo, I gravitate towards Timmy's evil teacher, Mr. Crocker. He's a middle-aged man obsessed with hunting fairies. He's just so funny to watch. You know he's never going to catch them, but to see the lengths he'd go to just to find the fairies is just hilarious to me. Ever wondered what it would be like to have a harem of girls only to realise they're all your sisters? No! Oh, well, never mind then. Welcome to the Loud House. Lincoln is a boy cursed with having 10 sisters, each with their own unique personality. It's a slice of life, but it also gets pretty crazy with the sisters. You get to learn about each one as the episodes progress, and everyone who watches the show tends to have a favourite girl. By the way, mine's Lucy. With all these crazy concepts for cartoons on TV nowadays, it's nice to have a cartoon which is grounded in some form of reality. And it's also Nickelodeon's best cartoon in years. Gravity Falls. I'm probably going to get hate for putting this only at number 3, but it's not a bad show at all. It's a great show. The writing is amazing, the characters are likeable, well, at least most of them. And the fan base for the show aren't actually that bad. I mean, what other cartoon had people every time a new episode would come out speculating and theorising about what would happen next? And the show was made knowing fans would keep watching to see how the story will unfold. One thing I enjoyed while watching the show is how some episodes can have a very simple premise, and then the one right after will have a very complex story. There are so many episodes that I fondly remember watching, such as Double Dipper, Susan the Real Girl, Carpet Diem, Blendin's Game, as well as Dungeons, and More Dungeons. These are just a few that come to mind, and it all leads up to the satisfying end, Weirdmageddon, an hour-long episode. If you haven't seen the show already, you have to check it out. Obvious choice, I know, but it's an extraordinary show. I won't go too deep into explaining the plot, as you likely already know about it. Alcoholic Rick takes his grandson Morty across the universe on adventures, while Beth and Jerry struggle with failing marriage. Oh, and Summer's there sometimes too. Something the show nails is being able to get really messed up, but at the same time pulling off a fart joke, only to make you question your existence moments later. The humour lies in the crazy situations the characters find themselves in, and how they react to them. Oh, and Pickle Rick, I guess.
I'm Pickle Rick!
But before we move on to number 1, here are a few honourable mentions. Without further ado, let's see what my favourite cartoon is. Number 1 is Milo Murphy's Law. Being the most recent show to come out on the list, you, the average viewer, might not be aware of this show, so let me explain. Created by the two behind Phineas and Ferb, Dan Povenmire and Swampy Marsh, this show is about a boy called Milo, voiced by Weird Al, who has Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law states that whatever can go wrong, will go wrong. Hijinks ensues. This show is amazing at making you question, how did it build up to this? Watch the first episode to see what I mean. It starts off small, but then the chaos just gets hectic. Everything builds up to a crazy ending. There is also a subplot about 2 pistachio-selling dudes, which during the middle of season 1 becomes the main plot. Overall, Milo Murphy's Law is not only my favourite cartoon of all time, but my favourite show on TV right now. I can't wait for season 2. Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. I put a lot of work into this one. It took over a month to script and edit, so I'd really appreciate it if you give it a like and maybe consider subscribing? I'm going to make more videos like this in the future, so look forward for what's about to come.